Hello, I'm Juan Davis, Chief Creative Officer at KCET and PBS SoCal, and we're partnering with the newsroom of KPCC and LAist on a daily reporter roundup. Libby, let's start with you. What trends did you see in our local returns?
Well, it's interesting, Juan. We have seen the statewide proposition races sending a message that the electorate in California is not quite ready to be fully as progressive as it might have been expected to, with the defeat of Proposition 16, which would have allowed affirmative action to be used in hiring processes at public institutions, and the passage of Proposition 22, which was the Uber and Lyft funded proposition that allowed their workers to be exempted from some labor laws in the state. Now, that was the statewide picture. If you look at Los Angeles, we have a number of progressive candidates, progressive measures that are winning currently as votes are still being tallied. You look at the DA's race, George Gascon in front of Jackie Lacey, the incumbent. Measure J seems to be passing pretty easily so far in the county. Nithya Raman in front of incumbent David Rue in the 4th City Council District. All of these races signal a shift in Los Angeles city politics towards a more progressive electorate, while again, California as a whole, maybe not quite there yet.
We're really lucky to have Farai with us here today. She hosts the podcast Our Body Politic. And I wonder, Farai, what's on the agenda for Black women and women of color after this election?
Well, when you look at the exit polling, you see that Democratic voters are very likely to have chosen ending the pandemic as one of their top voter motivations. And what we know is that disproportionately Black women and Latinas in particular have been dying during the pandemic, and also are essential workers, including in healthcare, who can't just say, I'm going to work from home, and thus are more likely to be exposed. So, what we're seeing is very high turnout of women of color and a lot of focus on ending the pandemic and trying to regain some semblance of control over work, life, family.
Aaron has been looking really closely at voter turnout in LA. What do we know, Aaron?
Well, so all eyes are on the LA County Registrar. We're expecting an update later today, but what we know so far is that 3.2 million votes have been counted in Los Angeles County. 3/4 of those are vote by mail, which is unprecedented. But there are literally hundreds of thousands of votes yet to be counted. So turnout, could be 60 something. It might approach 70%. In Orange County, we're looking at turnout that could top 80% once all the votes are counted. But this vote counting is going to take time, and county election officials don't even have all the votes yet. Mail ballots can still arrive for another 16 days. So there's a good chance that some of these critical races, and not just the presidential contest, that we may not know the outcome for days or weeks. That's normal, and we as a region are just going to have to be patient and let our election officials do their job and count every vote.
And finally today, Robert is here with an update on Proposition 20, which would have undone some criminal justice reforms in California.
Yeah, voters overwhelmingly rejected Prop 20. It would have rolled back some of the reforms of Prop 47 and 57. It would have given prosecutors the option of charging some property crimes as felonies instead of misdemeanors. For instance, it would have allowed so-called serial shoplifter crimes of more than $250 to be charged as felonies. Prop 20 also would have let law enforcement get DNA samples from people found guilty of some misdemeanors, which would include illegal drug possession and shoplifting. And it would have made it harder for some incarcerated people to get early parole. Opponents, including the ACLU, said it would dramatically increase the number of people in our jails and prisons. Supporters of Prop 20 included the unions that represent rank and file LA police and sheriff's deputies and the state's prison guards. We should note that Prop 20 came up at a time when the Black Lives Matter movement and a number of criminal justice reform groups are calling out a system of mass incarceration that disproportionately affects people of color.
Thank you, Robert. I'm wondering, what other big surprises did we find in the propositions so far?
I was surprised that Prop 21, the rent control measure, failed pretty badly. That would have opened the door to more rent control in California. So a tough night for tenant groups.
Well, thank you all. We'll continue to monitor the results, and we will see you tomorrow.